One of the questions that comes up most often when companies start using AI internally, building out projects and custom GPTs, is to start to think about how they can externalize some of this knowledge and functionality and experience and give it to customers, to prospects, to suppliers, to anyone that's outside of their organization. And in this video, I'm just going to give you the three main ways that you can bring that to life. So firstly, let's just frame out what we're talking about here. So you're going to have three areas to think about. So the first is the front end. So let's just call this web. And where is it that you're going to put this thing? Now, that could be on your website, it could be on a portal, but it's somewhere that the people that you want to go and use this thing are going to access it. The next is the back end, and let's call this the LLM. And for the sake of this video, we're just going to talk about OpenAI. So let's talk about OpenAI. You may just call it ChatGPT. So that's that back end part. And then in the middle, we're going to be talking about, well, how do you get the functionality from ChatGPT into your web? So up at the front end here, we're going to have our website. So you might be hosting this on, I don't know, could be Webflow, could be WordPress. I use Squarespace. Could be Wix, whatever that might be. And so this is where we want to get our chat interface happening. Over on the back end here, we've got OpenAI, ChatGPT, and you're either just using the core web interface where you might have been building something, or you might have set up a platform or developer account. And so here you might have what's called an assistant, or the new responses API. The assistant API is being deprecated and is going to be taken over by the responses API shortly. So you can be using either of these. Now, the question is, how do you get that to show up here? And there's three ways that you can do that. So the first I'm going to say is no code. So this is where we've got our custom GPT in the ChatGPT interface. So let's just call this a GPT. You set that up through your ChatGPT web interface. You give your GPT some knowledge. You give it some instructions. And you can then share it either internally, or in this case, you can provide a public link, and anyone on the internet can access that if you share it to them or put it into the GPT store. So benefits of this are you don't need to worry about any of this stuff at the back end, because ChatGPT is doing that for you and effectively creating an assistant on your behalf. And you also don't really need to worry about anything on the front end, because the GPT is going to provide you with that user interface. Now, the downside of that is that you've got no control over what that looks like. So you can put a button on your website and say, click here to go to the GPT. But when someone does click on it, they are going to be interacting with it in their own ChatGPT account. It's going to look exactly like ChatGPT because it is ChatGPT. And so this is great for a proof of concept, but probably not for how you want to interact with your investors, suppliers, and customers in the long term. The next option is what we'll call low code. And there's a few tools that you can use here, but one that I recommend because it is just so intuitive to use is a tool called chatbot. And if you just Google chatbot, you will go to their website. You can set it up for free to start with. And this has a number of easy plugins into OpenAI and a number of different LLMs, where you can build a very intuitive chat experience that you can define the look and feel, what the color of the bubbles are, how you want that chat interaction to continue. All done through drag and drop. You don't really need to know a great deal or any code really. It's just going to allow you to plug in your Assistant API. It's then going to give you an option to take a script that you can then drop into Wix or Squarespace or WordPress, give that to your web developers, and it is going to show you this chat interface on your website. There are three main ways that it's going to show that. One is you can actually have an entire web page where you say this is where our chat experience happens. And so you might go to charlie.com/chat, and that's where the chat interface is going to happen. The second is that you might have a pop-up. So if someone has been on a particular web page for a certain amount of time, it might pop up and say, how can I help you? Looks like you got stuck. And then the third option that you can have through Typebot is just a little bubble that sits at the bottom right-hand side of your web screen. And then as someone is there, they could click on that bubble and then up comes this chat. And you might have seen that in many websites where it makes it easy to chat from any page. So Typebot, pretty easy to use. You don't need any coding experience. And that enables you to get your basic chat interface onto your website. Then the third option, which I'm just going to call code. So we've had no code, low code, and now code, is if you've got access to actual development resource within your organization, then you might want to take full control over the look and feel of how your chat interface is happening. And so for this, the most popular system at the moment is through the providers of the Next.js framework. So let me put Next.js there. It's a company called Vercel that have developed the Next.js framework, but they have also published a thing called the AI SDK. AI SDK. And if you Google AI SDK, you will come up with this. And what this provides is some really easy hooks and functionality for developers. So specifically, a thing called Use Chat, which allows you to put a chat interface onto your website, super easy. And then also, it's got a number of these, but I'll just give you an example. Stream text, which plugs in to your OpenAI API key. Now, the advantage of using this code over the low code or the no code is here you can get super specific about how you want this thing to work. And this is where we move into agentic behavior. So it's not just about having one chatbot, one interface, but actually having maybe tens or hundreds of these and the ability to call tools. So when you start to reach some of the limits of what low code is going to provide, this is where having developers on hand that can start to use the AI SDK is going to become really important. So hopefully that helps you to start to see how you can take some of these early explorations that you're having within the ChatGPT interface and see how you can start to bring these to life for your external customers, prospects, suppliers, and so on. Starter for 10, no code, build a GPT. Easy, but they own the user experience. Next step, a tool like Typebot that allows you with just simple drag and drop to create a simple workflow that you can then show on your website. And then third level, once you get into more agentic tool calling and multiple tiers of these agents, is when you want to step into the AI SDK and have a developer start coding this thing up for you.